Alright everybody, thanks for tuning in to the channel. Hope you're all doing good this weekend. By the time you'll be watching this, I'm on a YouTube kind of 7 day ban or something. But by the time you see this, obviously the ban will be up. So I'm just got to keep like making a couple of videos until such times, and then just post them. Like a kind of video dump. My kid's away to his gran's, so got the house to myself. And I'd actually tried to make this video twice yesterday, and just when I got to the very end, somebody came to the door. Now this happened twice, and I'm sitting thinking like, does somebody not want me to do this? Is this a message? But all good. And before I get into this video, I want to kind of say that there's people, quite a few people, leaving comments about the Luke Mitchell case. Now, obviously, I'm aware of that case because of how high profile it is, and also because I was actually in the community when that case happened, and it actually happened on my 21st birthday. So the victim in that case, Jodie Jones, was actually murdered on my 21st birthday, so I will always remember it. And I remember the kind of the media storm that followed suit. But I don't really want to do a video on it just now because I don't really know enough about it to be discussing it at any kind of in-depth level. And by the sounds of it, it sounds like there's people watching this channel who do know about it in depth. So feel free to email and tell me what you think. Because obviously that helps me. You're only as good as the information in front of you, do you know what I mean? And I know there's a lot in the public domain about this case. There's documentaries that I've already watched, but I'm the type of person I rewatch it and rewatch it, or reread it and reread it, and probe it and analyse it until I don't need to read it or anymore or watch it anymore because sorry, it's all up here. Do you know what I mean? I've got a lot of the kind of the facts and theories in my head, so and as I said, it sounds like some of you know more about it than me, so feel free to tell me what you think in an email, or whatever, do you know? So I'll try and do a video on it soon. I don't know when. I'm not gonna sit and lie. But I will try, because obviously it is quite a kind of, it is a very high profile case. No, and obviously I do know that Luke Mitchell is claiming his innocence. So I'll definitely, it'll definitely be a video that I'll look into kind of doing. So the case that I want to talk about just now is was a murder that happened in Glasgow in 2015. Now I was in Low Moss prison in 2015 up until August, the first week of August 2015, when I was shipped to Kilmarnock, right, on that racist, that alleged racism stuff with the guy for Kashmir. So I'd heard about this case in Kilmarnock, right? Hold on. And I remember when I heard about it on the radio, I think. And the guy convicted in this was called Alexander Pacto, right? Half French, half Scottish, but I think born and raised in Glasgow. He was convicted of murdering this poor Irish lassie who was in Scotland studying for her master's degree in, it was nursing or occupational therapy, something like this, right? Came from a kind of well-to-do family in Ireland, Southern Ireland, Cork or somewhere in that way. And funnily enough, he was sent to Kilmarnock prison when he was sentenced to life, right? Now, normally as a life sentenced prisoner, if you went to Kilmarnock, you would go to House Block 1, and you probably either go to C Hall or D Hall, right? Because in House Block 1 you have A, B, C, D, and in House Block 2 you have E, F, G, H. And he actually went to H Wing, right, in House Block 2, which is for protection, protective custody, right, in Kilmarnock. So, like, kind of maybe somebody that had snatched, somebody that had stolen a woman's handbag, beat up an old woman, an old guy, hurt whatever, right, these kind of offences. He was put in there, right, and as obviously some of you who have done time in Scotland will know, especially if you've been in Kilmarnock yourself, you'll know that nobody in Kilmarnock refers to H-Wing as H-Wing, we call it Hector Hall. And the reason for that is because Hector is an insult. Like, if you called somebody Hector who you didn't know, like, obviously you can carry on with your pals or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, shut it, Hector, and get the tea on. But if you said that to somebody you didn't know in prison, if you called them Hector, you would probably have a situation on your hands, right? So it is an insult. So that's why, hence the name Hector Hall. Like just a total sin. As I said, it's an insult. So he was put in that hall, and I'd never laid eyes on him the whole time I was in Kilmarnock. I was there a good 4 years or something like that. And I'd never seen him the whole time I was there, obviously because he was on protection and he was a high profile case, right? But obviously this is when I was ball deep in my studies, and what I found peculiar about that case was this was another one, motiveless murder. There was no rational explanation, blah blah blah, lot of shite, in my opinion. No such thing as a motiveless murder. And when I had heard about the kind of what had been said in open court about this case, I thought he had been trying to cover something up, that he had tried to date this lassie, right? This lassie who he had killed. Now, obviously, as I've said before, like, there's ways and means to kind of analyse every offence, every crime, right? And one of the things you look at is called victimology, the study of the victim, their background, habits, whatever. Were they a high risk of meeting a violent death or being at risk of violence, or were they a low risk? Now, this was something that I had read about in a book called the Crime Classification Manual, right? So it's a kind of it's an academic book, right? It's quite useful for classifying violent crimes and figuring out what kind of person would have committed this crime. Now, the people who wrote this book were FBI agents, right, in Quantico, and this textbook was actually the result of the data they had collected, say, over the span of a decade or two, interviewing serial killers and stuff all over America, your Mansons and your Bundys, all these people, and they just wrote a textbook about it, hence that book, right? But it can be applied anywhere, it's not just America, do you know, it's like, can be applied Britain, Norway, fucking Russia, wherever you want, right? So, when I had, like, read this and the kind of thought about what kind of person would have committed the crime that he committed, especially because they were saying it was motiveless. I just don't believe somebody just snaps and decides to kill a woman in a night after a nightclub, whatever. So it kind of piqued my interest a wee bit, because when I'd read about this guy, I formed the opinion that he was a potential serial offender. By that I mean serial rapist and or serial killer, right? Now, he was young when he committed this murder, right? He was 21, something like that, right? And when I read the details of what he'd done to this lassie, it just confirmed what I'd already thought about him, right? And now, bear in mind, these are all my opinions, right? Obviously, this is just an opinion I've formed through reading about him and my own kind of knowledge or whatever. So I'm not saying I'm bullseye, right? You know, I'm just telling you, is we're here talking about a case that was quite high profile when it happened, and funnily enough, when I'm saying I think it was like I was saying to my pal, right? I was saying he was a Ted Bundy in the making. I believe that, right? So if you don't know who Ted Bundy is, he was a serial killer in America in the 70s, right? He was murdering young students, and the reason that I was saying this to my pal was because Pacto used to get to use the library on a Monday night, right? And the two guys who were the library passmen were lifers in my hall, C Hall, right? So they worked with a civilian librarian who would oversee them, right? And funnily enough, there was a Netflix show about Ted Bundy that had just come out, right? 2015, when he was convicted, and we were talking about it in the library one night, and I was saying to them about this Pacto, right? And I was like, I'm telling you now, I believe he was a Ted Bundy in the making. He was just getting started. I believe that if he had got away with what he done to this lassie, he would have went like a few months or a few years, and then he would have got the itch again to go and do this again. And I believe he would have continued until he was either captured or killed, right? And when I was saying this, the librarian, she's a female, right? She was saying there's just something about him, and to be fair, obviously you're gonna kind of think that if you're a female anyway, because you're looking at him now and you know what he's done. But I always wonder, like, would she have said that if she had known him before he had done this, do you know? And it's quite funny because when I kind of looked it up online, it said there was kind of there was like different reports. His co-workers would say, "Oh, he was a happy-go-lucky guy. I know he used to use hookers, but doesn't make him a bad person. See one of them ones." And then there was there was females who had shared a flat with in the West End who were saying he used to make weird comments and he would stare at you, kind of. He was just dead, kind of crass, I think. And they wouldn't be in the flat alone with him. So that tells you, maybe females were a bit more in tune with this nutter than maybe guys were. Um, so so what actually happened was he had went to a nightclub in the West End. I think he went with a couple of friends, and the lassie who was the victim went there with a couple of friends, and somewhere along the line, um, he's approached her outside this nightclub at the kind of early hours in the morning, and she's got in his car. I don't think she was forced in the car. I think he's used a ruse, offered her a lift home, whatever. Um, and when he's got her in the car, he's drove to like just outside his house, his flat, and something's happened, been said, and he's grabbed her and started choking her, and used a metal spanner to like bludgeon her to death, right? Now, before I kind of go on about what he done, I would like to kind of point out that obviously there's young lassies out there, right? And it's that time of the year, you're all going out, works night out, maybe meet a guy, offers you a lift home, want to get a taxi with me now. I'm not saying all guys who offer you a lift home are that way inclined, but I would just like to say to you to be mindful. If something doesn't feel right, don't go there. Always travel in pairs, all this kind of stuff, so that you're safe and you're going home at night and your mum and dad aren't getting a phone call, because I can only I couldn't, you know what, I don't even want to imagine being that parent, you know. It just must be so gut wrenching, do you know what I mean? Like, stomach just drops out, man, do you know what I mean? So I would just like to point that out, you know. Just be safe. It's this time of year, and I was, you know what I mean, I was 18, 21 myself and organ out getting fucking blind and drunk, can't fucking stone up, all that stuff, do you know? But just be safe, right? So he's wrapped her body in, he's taken it into his flat, right? Which is indicative of he must have been much more stronger than this lassie, obviously, because carrying a dead body, that's dead weight. It's not like you're carrying, you know, like your girlfriend or your shooter into the house for a laugh, whatever. He's carrying dead weight, so and he's 6'4" or something. This arsehole, right? Um, and I would like to say that one of the things that I've noticed is, right. So he was looking up chemicals, right, like corrosive chemicals. And while he's had this body, right, this poor lassie's dead body, he's went and bought caustic soda or something to corrode her body, right? Now, surely, right, as somebody who you need to put yourself in his shoes, right? Did he seriously think caustic soda was going to destroy her body, right? Or maybe that was the only thing he could get his hands on without arousing suspicion. I don't know, but there's much stronger chemicals would do a lot more damage, right? And this is what leads me to my suspicion that he tried to sexually assault this lassie, right? Or he did sexually assault her, either ante-mortem or post-mortem, right? I think he's done something to this lassie. And it said in a news report that he had made an incision for like the sternum of the bowel, and like poured this chemical inside this incision. Just giving me the goosebumps even fucking thinking about this shit. Um, but um, aye. Anyway, just, and why one of the reasons that made me like kind of come to this conclusion as well was because when he went to, so he's went and stored, I'll not jump ahead, right, so he's took this lass's body to a lockup he had on a farm, right, where I think he used to store fireworks that he used to sell. And he's went and put the body there, right, and then went and just started destroying evidence, clothes, I think he flung, so he's ditched her handbag in a bin outside his house. He flung the murder weapon in a body of water. I don't think it was the Clyde, but I'm not. Don't quote me. He flung it in a body of water, a stream, a river. Don't know, right? I'll figure that out. Not really a big detail. He flung it in the water, right? Um, so the police, by this time, the cops have realised he was the last person seen with this poor lassie, right? Um, they've went to fucking speak to him as they would, And when they've chapped the door, do you know what this fool said? Oh, I was just coming to see yous. Oh, why, aye. Do you know, like, he's already thinking in his head what he's going to say, right? But trust me, see, Murder Squad on the daft, man. Do you know, they're Murder Squad for a fucking reason, you know what I mean? So they've obviously, I don't know if they've detained him as a witness at the start or detained him as a suspect, right? Obviously, I imagine it would have been detained as a witness to come and give a statement, and then the more he spoke, the more the tide's turning on him. And he was saying shit like, "Oh, yeah, I seen her. We went home, and we had consensual sex, and she fell and bumped her head, and left my house." Now, that already confirmed for me that he had tried or succeeded in sexually assaulting her either before death or just after. Um, and because to me what he's trying to do is he's hedging his bets. He's thinking like, we all know, we've all watched CSI, fucking, like, do you know, and I'm not saying CSI is an accurate representation of how good forensic science is. What I'm trying to say is he doesn't fucking know that. He's just sitting going, what if they find a 1 billionth of a fucking grain of sand, like, blah blah blah, then that's me fucked. So I might as well just say, aye, we had sex, but it was consensual, not blah blah blah. No. Obviously, the more the murder squad are speaking to him, the more they know he's just full of shit. Because he kept changing his story, right? And they've traced the body, and they found the body, right? And I can't mind if he told them where it was, or they've fucking traced his movements, whatever. But they've charged him. He's went to court, and do you know what came out in court, right? Which was another thing it confirmed for me, in my personal belief, that he's a sex offender, potential serial. It came out in court that 4 years or 3 years before this murder even happened, he was charged with either attempted rape or rape, right? Quite similar. I think he'd met a lassie in a nightclub or a pub. He took her down a lane or something, and fucking, he's been in the middle of trying to hurt her, and passers-by have fucking intervened. Good thing about Glasgow, man. Know what I mean? Hats off to them, whoever they are. Could have saved a young lassie's life, no? So, obviously he's been charged with this, but see, after he's been charged with it, he was in a car crash and he was in a coma and all that, so shame that he survived that, if you ask me. Because this poor lassie would still be alive and living her life, travelling the world, fucking, you know. And when he went to court for this rape, he said, and he's meant to have said, I would rather be here charged with murder than here charged with rape. Pretty telling, pretty telling of what the way that guy thinks. And to me, I believe that he would have went to any lengths to conceal the fact that he's a sex offender, because if he had have been uncovered as a sex offender during this murder that he committed, then he would be treated a lot differently. And I don't just mean by prisoners, I mean staff, the shame on his family. Like, and you get some people like this, like I've seen this in a lot of kind of serial cases, like they'll admit to like murders but deny like things, like they'll say, but I didn't do anything to her, but you can't prove if they did or they didn't. It's quite strange. It's like, I would admit to the murder, but I'm not admitting to the rape, sort of thing, because they all know what happens to like rapists in prison. I'm not saying by that extension or nothing would happen to you for strangling and bludgeoning a fucking poor lass outside after taking her home for a nightclub and fucking doing unspeakable things to her. I'm not saying that, but he's always got that way where he can try and explain it's like, I'm not a beast, but aye, well, you're to me, mate. So anyway, that was quite all these things just kind of the tick boxes for me. I don't know about any of yours if yous are kind of like doing studying or into any of this kind of stuff, but aye, 100% for me. He was a multiple murderer or a serial rapist at the very least. To me, stopped in his tracks. He was stopped in his tracks, I believe. And one of the cops even came out and says they believe he was trolling for a victim that night, which is he's making out he's by chance he's just met this lassie, offered her a lift home and all that kind of shit. But I want to just kind of look at an article. I think it was in an Irish paper. So it's the time. It says Karen Buckley timeline of disappearance and death. Alexander Pacto has pleaded guilty to the murder of Karen Buckley in Glasgow, right? So this article's from August 2015, so basically the 11th of August, that was like the week after I went to Kilmarnock, right? So Saturday, April the 11th, 2015, at 11 p.m, Alexander Pacto called two taxis to his flat in Dorchester Avenue in Kelvindale, Glasgow, to bring himself and a group of 7 friends to the Sanctuary nightclub on Dumbarton Road in the city's West End. So that's 11 o'clock at night, right, on a Saturday. At 11:25 p.m, Karen Buckley, now that's the poor lass that died, and 3 Irish friends who are all studying occupational therapy at Glasgow Caledonian University and living in flats at Hill Street, Garnet Hill, arrive at the Sanctuary nightclub and spend 20 minutes queuing to get into the club. So 11:38 p.m, Pacto and his friends enter the Sanctuary nightclub after the second taxi fails to show up, and he drives with 2 of his friends in his Ford Focus and parks 100 metres from the nightclub on Dumbarton Road. By 1 a.m, Pacto leaves the nightclub where he and his friends had booked a booth before returning. He leaves the nightclub a second time and walks up and down the road across from the club. So 1 a.m, Karen Buckley leaves the nightclub and crosses the road where she meets Pacto, so they've left at the same time. Don't know if he left first, followed or what. He appears to engage her in conversation. They walk together. He offers her a lift home and they travel in the direction of her flat at Hill Street in his car. He's probably made out he's giving her a lift home or something. Freak show, man. So between 1:05 and 1:20 Pacto drives to Kelvin Way where his car is parked for 12 minutes 46 seconds, during which time he kills Miss Buckley, grabbing her by the throat with one hand before striking her repeatedly on the head with a wrench. 1:25 Pacto drives to Dosholm Park, I've never heard of that. Dosholm Park with Miss Buckley's body in his car. He spends 26 minutes there, during which time he dumps her handbag by a council rubbish bin. 2 a.m, Pacto drives back to his flat on Dorchester Avenue where he gets a sheet in which he wraps Miss Buckley's body and brings her into his bedroom before he goes to sleep. 7 a.m the next day, a member of the public finds Miss Buckley's handbag near a council refuse bin near the entrance to Dosholm Park, less than a kilometre from Pacto's flat. 8 a.m, Pacto gets up and uses his mobile phone to research chemical properties of sodium hydroxide, better known as caustic soda. And then he's went to B&Q on Great Western Road and he's bought 6 litres of the caustic soda, mask and gloves. And then that was 9:45, but by 11 a.m. he's also bought more caustic soda at Prown Stretcher, so I don't know if he's bought 6 litres took it and realised it wasn't enough and went back from there. It kind of sounds like it if you ask me, but obviously I don't know because this is a newspaper report, and what I'm saying is you're only as good as the info in front of you. So 1 p.m. on the Sunday, Miss Buckley's friends become concerned when they find that she has not returned home, and they contact Police Scotland in Glasgow because they say it is highly out of character for her. 20 to 1 that same day, Pacto texts his flatmate, right, saying he has lost his house keys and asking him what time he's returning home from his hill walking expedition with his mother, who had stayed over the previous night. His flatmate replies he won't be home until 8. Pacto remains in the flat for the rest of the day, during which time he removes Miss Buckley's clothing. After filling the bath with caustic soda, he submerges her body in the solution and leaves her there for several hours. What, man? Pacto attempts to clean up the blood from his bedroom and other rooms in the flat. Pacto gets a knife and makes an incision from her sternum to her abdomen to allow the corrosive solution to enter her body with the intent to speed up the decomposition process. I don't think he was trying to decompose her, I think he was trying to destroy biological evidence so that nobody could call him a rapist or a beast, but that could do that's a beast. Like opening somebody up like that, man, even, oh fucking hell, man. I hate it when you just start seeing it in your mind, you know, like actually seeing it like it's happening. It's fucked up. 5 p.m, Pacto drains the bath and removes Miss Buckley's body and brings it back into his bedroom, where he wraps it in a duvet and locks his bedroom with a padlock. That's just no suspicious at all, mate. 8:15, Pacto's flatmate arrives back with his mother and discovers Pacto cleaning the hall and the passageway up to the flat. So 8:30 he goes to bed, so he went to sleep. I imagine all that fucking work was fucking taxing. So on the Monday following the murder, at fucking 10 to 5 in the morning, Pacto goes to Bridge 27 on the Forth and Clyde Canal near his flat and dumps the spanner into the canal, so the spanner's the murder weapon. He then drives to Tesco on the Maryhill Road and asks a staff member to recommend cleaning products to remove bloodstains from a mattress. Bloodstains for a mattress. Don't know about you, man, but that just sets, I don't know if I'm just too suspicious, that just sets off alarm bells to me, man. It reminds me of, see the when I made the video about Menzies going up to and asking his victim's ma, do you know what would remove bloodstains and their boy's missing? Like, especially when you look at a photo of this freak show, man, he just looks like a pure Herman Munster, do you know what I mean? He looks like a weirdo. So 6:30 in the morning, Pacto drives to Tesco in Mulgai. So he's went from one Tesco to the other. He's went into Tesco, Maryhill Road, asked one of the staff, how would you clean blood? And then went to Tesco in Mulgai, north of Glasgow, to buy white spirits and a lighter. He then drives 6 kilometres to High Creighton Farm to burn Miss Buckley's clothing and some bloodstained items from his flat, including clothes and sponges. 25 to 9, Pacto uses his mobile phone to ring a storage equipment supplier, Invopack, and orders a 220 litre blue barrel which he collects from their depot at City Park Industrial Estate in the East End. Oh fucking hell, man. So you just, for what I can, no matter pure, like sit and pure read out a blow by blow account of everything this guy's done, but you can see this is quite premeditated. He's quite calm, collected, no in any way, shape or form seemingly on the surface of it perturbed by what he's done. No, that's quite eerie as fuck. It's one thing being in a fight, a gang fight, fucking a roll about at the pub, and the next day you're lying all bruised up or covered in somebody's blood for fucking rolling about with them, right? But to be sitting and you know you've done something like this and you're not getting off any signs, that's quite chilling. So 6 p.m, police called to Pacto's flat after they identify him as the man seen talking to Miss Buckley on CCTV footage outside the nightclub. It is their second time calling to the flat. He was not home earlier when they called. He opens the door and says, "I was just coming to see you." Police enter the flat and notice it smells of bleach. They notice unusual items in the bedroom, including a toolbox, roll of parcel tape, nail brushes, and a mattress that doesn't fit the bed. Fuck's all that about? Oh, he's maybe switched them, maybe. Pacto told police he met her outside the Sanctuary nightclub and that she came back to his flat but left around 4. Pacto agrees to go to Helen Street police station to make a witness statement. During a search of his clothes at the police station, officers find a receipt for drain unblocker and caustic soda and 2 small keys. He gives police a version of events which he now accepts was untrue, that Miss Buckley returned to his flat where they had drinks and consensual sex, but she hit her head on the bed frame and left the flat at 4 a.m. He says he didn't realise she had been bleeding until he saw the blood on the bed sheets the next morning. Not very plausible. So he's saying that he's panicked because she's went missing after leaving and he had her blood in there, and so they've cordoned off the flat, began a forensic examination, and he's had to go to a Holiday Inn while the forensic examination was taking place. Well, they would have been watching him, know what I mean, like a fucking hawk. Impounded his motor, then somebody came forward saying they'd found the horn bag and all that. Do you know, just fucking horrendous, man. When did it say they found her? So April the 15th, the Daily Record published an interview with Pacto's mother saying, "My son's nothing to do with this," and saying Detective Superintendent Kerr said he's no a suspect. Don't know if she's just in denial, do you know what I mean? Because surely she must have known about this rape thing before, and I don't care how much you love your kid, alarm bells must be going off, man. Somebody had, following an appeal, contacted him about the farm where he'd stored fireworks, and his car had matched the description a witness had came forward and said about it. And they've went and found the blue barrel with the poor lassie inside it, man. Horrendous, man. So the post-mortem confirmed she'd been the victim of an assault, and they've obviously charged him with it. But I'm trying to look for any kind of details that I've not covered. So 21 at a time. Poor lassie's family saying they were absolutely heartbroken. I don't even think the words begin to cover it, man, but aye. Horrendous, man. And see, the funny thing is, I know, right, I remember in Kilmarnock, obviously because of what Holly was in, right, people were pissing in their soup and all that, and he was making complaints about this, but it's the least they could do for you, mate, if you ask me. Just being upfront about it, no. Do things like that, you're not just a shoplifter, a car thief. And I'm not condoning any of this either, but there's degrees of criminality, man. There's degrees of whatever. You're just fucking slime to do that. And it had actually been carted for Kilmarnock because him and a couple of his fucking, I think he ended up I don't know if he was gaining a bit of influence, but he I think he had a couple of wee fucking other prisoners around him who they had ended up fighting with staff. Now the paper said prison riot. No, it wasn't a riot. They smashed a couple of cameras and a fucking couple of tellies and all that. Like that, I wouldn't class that as a riot. That's a disturbance. But obviously they were all charged, and he had refused to go to court because he was unwell. Um, if you ask me, but man, I hope he's next fucking shite's a cactus. You know what I mean? Um, just I don't have a daughter, do you know, but we've all got somebody that we just couldn't bear losing and all that, and he's done that to somebody. So I hope that um I hope that he never sees the light of day again, you know, and I hope every day, like the poor lass's dad was saying, I hope he never gets out, and I hope he spends every day thinking about what he done. Well, somebody like him who could even do that, follow through on that, is they're another level, man. That's a predator, and that predators, the way they think that's like a meal to them. They just have their meal and that they forget about it. Yeah, I don't think that'll ever trouble him. The facts speak for themselves, in my opinion. Uh, just a fucking horrendous case. And see, the funny thing is, he grew up in Bearsden, right? Quite a, don't want to say affluent family, but compared to how I grew up and where I grew up, I would I would say affluent. You know, like his dad his own company, and um, he was in a private school, fucking 15 grand a year tuition fees, all this kind of stuff. You know, so um, obviously I'm not saying he's there's no been issues at home. I don't know, right, because I didn't see anything what I read online or whatever, but something's definitely no right with him, man. I don't really, I'm not got to make any bones about it, you know. Um, so it is what it is, innit? But hope that was kind of, don't know, interesting for you, whatever. Um, just and the reason that I remembered about this case, I'd actually forgot he was in Kilmarnock when I was there. The reason that I remembered was because I think it was Friday night. I was up all night waiting for a fight to come on. It was in Las Vegas, right? So it was like fucking a five a.m. shot, right? So I'd been up all night, and just my son was with his grandpa, and I was just sitting like kind of fucking about on YouTube reading books, all that kind of stuff. And his sentencing hearing by Rita Ray came up on my feed, and I was like, holy fuck, I remember him. Well, remember the case, and remember talking about it. So I was like, well, that was kind of a case to come on and talk about. Obviously, like, because obviously, people keep saying, oh, do you know anything about Luke Mitchell and da 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 da. Well, know a wee bit about it, as I've said, but I'm not going to really kind of pure delve into it because I want to kind of know enough about it to talk about it, you know. And plus it's quite complex as well, that case, because obviously the claims innocence and the trial by media and all that kind of stuff. So I thought I would do this one. And obviously remember a poor lassie's lost her life, and there's a family out there who are gone another year without their daughter, you know, so I would ask you to bear that in mind. So I'm not going to say I hope he's liked the video. There's nothing to like about that sort of offending and all that kind of stuff, you know. So I'll drop this video when I'm back on YouTube, which should be next week or something, but obviously by the time you see this, I'll be back on, so it'll be a week out of date, if you get me. So have a good Sunday. This is Sunday. Uh, we're at 4:45 now, so have a good Sunday evening, and I'll see you next time I'm on. Take care.